26, 2022. The hour is 5:30 p.m. We'd like to go ahead and get started. We're going to be led in prayer this afternoon by Commissioner Kevin Cottle, and after that we'll be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Melissa Crawfield, our new community liaison person. So, Commissioner Cottle.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, this evening we appreciate the chance to gather here as neighbors to do the business of the city. We ask that you guide us to do and behave in a way that is pleasing in your sight. We also pray for peace worldwide, and we pray for peace locally, and we thank those first responders who help us in that regard and our soldiers overseas. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chair, you want to give her a pin for us?
What's that?
We have
You get a door
token
prize.
appreciation for you.
Oh.
It's priceless. You can't get the picture.
Unless you walk in here. Just keep on.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Commissioners, I'd like to seek approval of the agenda, and I'd like to have it amended by adding one item, new item. It'll be item 5A. It's a zone change involving St. James Place. Is that amendment acceptable?
I move that we approve the agenda with the additional item.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This is the part of our agenda where we hear the public, and the public is invited to come to the podium and speak to us. And at this time, we'll be dealing with items that are on the agenda only on the agenda. So anyone want to speak to us about items on the agenda before we proceed with the agenda? Seeing that there are no takers, we'll move right along then. Item number 1 on our agenda as adopted is the Economic Development Corporation update. Mr. Terry Crowley.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. I'm here to update you on our progress. As you know, there's a transition going on. And at this point in time, the bylaws, et cetera, have been adopted. And the official beginning date for what is now the Danville Boyle County Development Corporation is October 1st. To date, we have got 8 of the 9 board members identified. One of the things that I'm going to ask you guys to do is identify number 9 for me tonight. And I would appreciate, I hope you can do that now, but I don't see it on the agenda anywhere else. But the update is pretty simple. We're in the process of getting the new board of directors seated, and their first task after October 1st is going to be to elect their officers, at which time I'm also going to give them a modified or an updated job description for the executive director's position, which they need to go ahead and advertise quickly so they can begin the process of selecting a permanent full-time executive director. I've also been reviewing the 2017 strategic plan to take those items that look like they either have not been addressed or no longer applicable, get those out, and look at giving that new board of directors kind of a, let's call it a holdover roadmap, if you will, to where the old economic development partnership plan was headed. So those are the main items coming up. I am pleased to tell you that we have made an offer and it's been accepted for the position of workforce development specialist. And the gentleman has accepted the position. We are working on a little bit of a press release to announce who that is, but I think everybody's going to be quite pleased with that. As you also know, I believe, the fiscal court has rejoined the corporation, which is why we have a 9-member board.
Yes.
So we've got good progress taking place. Look forward to kind of keeping this transition moving along. And at this time, all I can ask from you guys is I need my 9th board member. The mayor is obviously automatically on the board, and one of you 4 gets to draw straws if you want. But I think you have a better
Can we
way
do
to
that? See, we can, even though it's not on the agenda, right?
You sure
It's
can.
up.
Yeah.
It's a regular meeting, so you're free to do so.
Well, I'm
Yeah, the
going to
chair-
make a motion that, what's her name down there, Jenny Holland?
Commissioner Holland?
Commissioner Holland be named to the board.
Okay, I'll accept that as a nomination. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. So we've been properly moved in second. Any questions or comments on the motion?
I was just going to say that I enjoyed working through the transition to get it to this point, but I think it's important to let somebody with a fresh set of eyes come in now and kind of take it and run with it. So I think Judy would be a good choice.
Other comments, questions? Well, the chair calls for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. You have number 9.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. We'll be convening a meeting as quickly as possible on or after October the 3rd.
Okay, so there's no specific
It's
day
not
or
a
time?
date set yet because we wanted to make sure everybody's available for the first go-around. The board, just so everyone knows, the board of directors for the new corporation then will be Mayor Paris and Commissioner Holland, Judge Hunt and Commissioner Cullen, Dr. John Rouse from the Economic Development Authority, Jerry Carter from the Boyle County Industrial Foundation, Kathy Miles, and Rob Cowell and Brian Huxley from the Advisory Council. So I think it's a good, strong board. We're looking forward to getting this transition finished and really getting to work. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Want to
Appreciate
take,
what you're doing.
yeah, big thanks.
Thank you,
Moving us
Thank you.
along.
thank you.
And I want to apologize to Commissioner Holland. Your name just went, I could not find it. I'm sorry.
I want a name tag.
It's advancing years, and I apologize.
Moving right along, item number 2 on the agenda is a proclamation in recognition of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Commissioner Terry is going to read the proclamation for us.
Whereas the month of October has been set aside as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to educate women and men on the importance of early detection of breast cancer. And whereas this disease is the second most common diagnosed cancer in women and men in the U.S., and the second leading cause of cancer death in women, with an estimated 250,000 new cases of invasive breast cancer expected to be diagnosed among women and men in the U.S. this year. On average, 1 woman is diagnosed every 2 minutes. And whereas October 21st, 2022 is a National Mammography Day, and early detection and treatment can save lives. We encourage all women and men to find out if they are at increased risk by completing the necessary screenings. And whereas, although statistics are staggering, we are encouraged that the survival rates have drastically improved due to increased awareness and innovative advancement in early detection and treatment. And whereas we encourage everyone to display their support of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month by displaying bold pink ribbons, showing support for breast cancer survivors, and reaffirm our commitment to raising awareness of the disease and as a symbol of hope. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Paris and the City Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 26th day of September 2022 do hereby proclaim October as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and encourage all residents to celebrate life beyond breast cancer by supporting and attending events in the city that recognize breast cancer awareness during the month of October and throughout the year.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the proclamation.
Second?
Okay. Probably moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, proclamation is approved. Item number 3 is a proclamation, recognition of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and Commissioner Holland is going to read that proclamation for us.
Okay, Domestic Violence Awareness Month 2022. Whereas domestic violence in America is intolerable, unacceptable, must be stopped, and deserves considerable public attention. And whereas children who witness domestic violence also often grow up believing that physical cruelty in relationships is acceptable behavior, and thus tend to perpetuate a cycle of violence in society. And whereas federal, state, and local programs addressing the domestic violence problem have achieved success, bringing greater safety to families. And whereas community leaders, police, judges, advocates, healthcare workers, and concerned Americans are working together across America to develop solutions to this serious problem and implement services that will improve our response when it occurs. And whereas programs designed to educate men and women about ways they can help prevent domestic violence are being developed across our nation, whereas numerous law enforcement officials and departments have created specialized domestic violence units that cooperate with community advocates to enhance services for victims, and representatives from the faith community frequently provide essential service in areas where there may be no other services available. Whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence regardless of age, sex, ethnicity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, or religion. And whereas we must continue to hold domestic abusers accountable, punish them to the full extent of law, and prevent them from inflicting more abuse. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Peros and the City Commissioners of Danville on the 26th day of September 2022 recognize October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month and urge all citizens to participate in events supporting the event and the effort.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second?
Thank you. All those in favor of this proclamation say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Chair will entertain a motion for approval.
I move for approval of the minutes as presented.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any additions, corrections, deletions?
Nope.
If not, Chair will call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all.
Commissioner Atkins, I
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
step out for a phone call.
Okay.
Thank you.
Should we take a 5-minute, or you want us to proceed? All right. With her permission, we still have a quorum, so we will continue. Item number 5 is ML King Committee appointments. I know there are 2 of those. Madam Clerk, are you going to take care of that for us?
The MLK committee recommended that you all appoint Marvin Swan and Melinda Weathers on one-year terms.
Okay. They have 2 resignations from the committee?
I don't
Okay.
know that they were 2 resignations, they were just 2 replacements. I know one
Okay.
of the members moved out of town, so I think that was a resignation, but the other one is not.
Okay. All right, then. Chair will entertain a motion to accept those 2 new members, Brother Swan and Sister Weathers, as 2 new members to the ML King Community-Wide Committee.
I'll move to accept the committee appointments. 2 fine people.
Second?
Any questions or comments? If not, Chair will call the question to approve those 2 to the committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, congratulations to those 2 members of the Community-Wide ML King Committee. Item number 5A is the addition to the agenda. It's zone change, in reference to St. James Place. You guys going to present that to us?
Thank you all. I'd like to introduce the interim director for planning and zoning, Mr. Gary Chadster. I think you all are familiar with him. So you have the motion for the zone map amendment in front of you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
Any questions, or is there a motion from the commission?
I move for approval of the first reading of ordinance 2000.
Correction,
What?
it won't be a first reading. This is just your initial review of it, so the ordinance will be prepared and presented to you for a first reading at the next meeting. This is just
very
for
good.
your instruction to me to make that preparation, so.
Okey-doke. So moved, what Stephen said.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you all. Commissioner Terry, we're on 5A, the zone change for St. James Place.
Thank you.
Been a motion and a second that we direct the city attorney to move forward this. So all those in favor of this recommendation, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, guys.
I think we've got the next one, too.
Oh, you got the next
6
one?
and 7.
Oh, yeah, 6 and 7, okay, all right. Well, number 6 is the second reading of orders number 2000, zone change for 0 East Main Street, okay? You guys go right ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is just a second reading of the ordinance, so it's been previously discussed at your past meetings, and so it is a second reading. It's a zone change from RM2 to RM3 for the end of East Main Street.
Okay, Madam Clerk?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 2000, an ordinance changing the zone from RM2, two-family residential, to RM3, multifamily residential for approximately 10.691 acres, more or less, of real property located on the end of East Main Street in the city of Danville, Kentucky.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the second reading of ordinance 2000.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, Chair will call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those
I've got a roll
opposed?
call.
Oh, that's right, roll call vote. Sorry about that.
Commissioner Cottle,
Yes.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Atkins.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 7, second reading of orders number 2001, zone change at 1695 of Lancaster Road. Getting too fast. Want to read that one also?
This
Madam
is-
Clerk?
This is the second reading of ordinance number 2001, an ordinance changing the zone from AG Agriculture to LI Light Industrial for approximately 2.836 acres, more or less, of real property located at 1695 Lancaster Road in the city of Danville.
Thank you, ma'am. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve second reading of ordinance 2001.
Is there a
Second.
Second. Okay. Any questions or comments to these guys?
I wish I had a really hard question for Gary, but I don't.
Don't make it too hard.
Just to make his first day
Don't make
difficult.
it too hard. When they said I need the beer, I called Jeff and said, Jeff, you gotta come.
Everything looks good, so.
Okay.
We added a provision addressing the home on the property, the structure.
There was an additional condition that was agreed upon at the Planning Commission meeting. The original record did not reflect that addition, but it has since been provided by counsel for the applicant, and that was done prior to the first reading of the ordinance.
Just wanted to make sure we noted that.
We will have a roll call vote on this one as well, all right? Trying to rest you guys.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Commissioner Holland,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Atkins,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cottle.
Yes.
Thank you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, guys.
See y'all. Have a good evening.
Item number 8 on the agenda is the introduction of the community liaison person. Mr. Coffey, you want to take that one?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Atkins. We are, it is our pleasure. We'll ask Melanie to approach the microphone. Melanie Crossfield is the city's community liaison. We'll allow her to go through her biography and give a little bit of history on herself. But what our expectation is that we have improved communication from the city, but also to the city. We have for such a long time, people have called and ended up talking to the city engineer's office for lack of a broader staff. So what we've done administratively is, of course, we have a utility director, we have city engineer, and so we've added the community liaison in order to have a place for businesses to contact and to seek direct services from the city if they're reaching out to someone and can't really find out who to talk to. Our goal is to have this position be customer service centric and communication centric to begin with, for sure. And Melanie, welcome to Danville, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Like I said, Melanie Crossfield. I'm excited to be here. I've already met so many people, and everyone in this town is so nice. So I thank you all for this opportunity. Like he said, I just want to be a resource for our business community and for all of you. So as I get to know everyone, I think we'll be able to move forward in a positive way.
What's your background, Melanie?
So I've been in public relations, marketing. Prior to this position, I was working for an electric co-op in Shelbyville. So
Very good.
I've since come back home.
Thank you. Well,
Any other comments or questions?
Well, I have to admit, over KLC, there were a lot of examples of how different communities use their community liaison. And I made a little list to share with Earl, and so I was really glad to see the position here. So, and just saw how other communities have really utilized it. So we're glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 9 is you also, Mr. Coffey, the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioner. She alluded to KLC. The annual conference was last week and really consumed most of the week for us. And so we really don't have a heavy update. Certainly entertaining any questions. We provided some text for you, but the exciting thing is I felt like the city was well represented at KLC. We had a strong showing of staff, and I think we demonstrate expertise well now, especially because we do have experts in different fields, and so we appreciate the commission, the vision of having that available, and I think folks outside of this community understand that now and are definitely calling us for advice from time to time, and that is increasing. And so that's the biggest update I would give you. Otherwise, Commissioner Holland provided some information to me, and we've shared it in the packet, the example done by KLC for the city of Berea, a work plan, where it was an improved process to establish this above our normal goals and objectives, and we were trying to get towards a point in time where we could do something a little bit more elaborate with the commission to establish what is a true work plan. We've always had this running list of things that were highlights that the commission wanted to do. And so this organizes them a little bit differently and assigns tasks to each of our goals a little bit differently. And so we appreciated that organization, and we're going to pursue this process maybe this winter to begin our budget process. And also there's an interesting packet from CORE, which is dealing with Kentucky's opioid response effort, and we think that's an informational packet, and certainly we've shared that as well. And so at this time, I guess, do you have any questions or from me?
I was going to give the city manager a test, but I think I'm going to wait. Right? I was going to ask you to recognize all the staff who received training certificates for different levels of training.
Well, I can't remember. I know the city clerk did one, and she's,
I can tell you.
thank you for that.
I received my level 1. Earl and Kevin received their level 2, and Denise and Mr. Atkins both received their level 3.
Great.
Oh, and Jenny, level 1. I did forget one. Sorry.
You did pretty good.
Did better than I could.
Mr. Coffey, is that all?
That's all I have.
Wow.
Thank you all.
Okay. Well, this brings us to our second opportunity to hear the public, and at this point on our agenda, the public can come to the microphone, identify themselves, and take 3 minutes or less to make a comment or talk to us about an issue that's on their mind. Mr. Hunter, you coming?
Yeah, I had to give him a message.
Oh, okay.
You have to look out for him. Listen, what are they gonna do about traffic on East Main Street when they get to start doing that project? Question, somebody talk to me?
Oh, that's a question. Well,
The housing project you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes. Josh, do you remember the conversation out of planning and zoning on that?
They previously did a traffic study when they did the original zone change down there. Earl, do you recall that? I wasn't here at the time. So I believe, what was the number of homes they were adding? Can look that up real quick.
he's concerned about
It didn't,
starting time,
Mr. Hunt, it
ending
didn't,
time,
you know, the bottom line, it didn't trigger their traffic study requirements, so we weren't included in the conversation about a potential traffic study. It probably wouldn't have shown us much anyway because of the number of units that they're proposing.
How they gonna get in and out? They gonna come straight down Main Street?
The access, yeah,
Yeah, access will be on to East Main Street, yes.
Y'all gonna, is Main Street gonna be widened?
Not at this time. I mean, they have requirements that it's sectioned down there just that they're adding on to. They're east of the, I guess, east of Terry, is that the street?
It's east of me.
Yeah.
East of me, isn't it?
Yes.
That's a lot of traffic to be coming down Main Street.
Yeah, it looks like they'll have two entrances onto East Main and the extended East Main. It will look a lot like the development over here on the east side, the west side, the white apartments, that system where it loops up inside of the development, but,
I'm talking about coming down Main Street to get to the point.
correct, yeah,
Yeah.
they're coming down Main Street and using Main Street as the access.
Gonna be rough.
Will you all do some research on that and get back to Mr. Hunn?
Yes. we
Mr.
will.
Hunn, what's your second question? Your second comment or question?
That dust down there now with them big trucks hauling all that stuff on East Main Street.
Yeah.
That dirt and rock stuff, and it's creating a lot of dust down through there, you know. They need to water it down to do something to keep that dust down there. I have a breathing problem, so, I can't be coming in and out the side with all that dust and stuff, so. I'd like to see y'all take care of that. My health is important to me at my age.
Well, yes, sir. Anyone else here, the public at this time? Speak to the commission? You ladies? I said, you ladies want to come on?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
You want to tell us your names, ladies? They know that guy. He's up here all the time, so you identify yourselves.
Wanda Beasley.
Okay.
And it's a stream that runs between the two houses where she lives, where I live. And they have come out and put the flags, I guess it's for the gas line, in the yard, but we haven't heard anything else about whether they're going to continue the work or.
And that creek's a nuisance. Well, you seen it, I got
Yeah,
pictures of
yeah.
it. But
It's
just
about, yeah.
green moss we got. You know, it's a little path between the house and we got this creek. The water's not going nowhere, but wilding around in
Just
this
standing.
creek, standing.
Where is this?
Where's,
I live at 658 Linda Avenue.
Yeah.
656.
Okay.
Linda.
Out in district court.
Yeah.
Josh, you want to respond to these ladies?
Yes, It's on our list to do this year. I talked to Rick. We kind of went over our list a couple weeks ago of everything we want to finish before winter sets in, and this is on that list to do. So, and if they're out marking utilities, that means they've called in a bud request to see what's underground. So that means they're planning to be there soon because those expire after just a couple of weeks. So if they've called in the bud request, that means it's pretty close on their schedule. So
Nobody's come and tested that water.
tested
The
the.
water just holds.
Yeah, it's a spring.
They said they was gonna
It's
have
pretty
somebody
remarkable
come
if you
and
go
test
out and
the
look
water,
at it.
but
It's
They got all these gas lines, but nobody's tested water, and the water's just, what you call it, algae. It's got this green moss, we got
Yeah,
little
just-
frogs on the
yeah.
lid there.
Yeah. There's a pipe that comes from Linda. We're gonna dig that up, expose that, try to see where that's coming from. So we have a plan. We're gonna work on it. I mean, it'll probably be, like I said, if they've called in the bud request, that means they plan on being out there the next week or two. When we talked a couple weeks ago, we were gonna try to wrap up the manhole raising, once we've got that piece of equipment ready for the next week. I think they got their 20th manhole today, which was their goal to get 20 by the end of the month. So that's gone well, and I think Rick said if we get those manholes raised, we're gonna start hitting some of our drainage projects, which is kind of the top of the list of, we've got a handful that we need to hit before the end of the year, so.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you all.
You ladies keep us posted.
And one other part, I don't know if this has ever come before the commission, but as you come off of Old Shakertown Road or going into Old Shakertown Road, off of 3rd Street, when you come out, you almost have to come out in the road to see because
yeah.
people
Yeah.
park there. And I've almost gotten hit several times. So I choose anymore to go down Earl, I
Yes,
guess it's
ma'am.
Earl Street. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's a terrible spot there.
You're talking about looking left, if you're pulling out southbound, looking left over your shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at that and see if we can eliminate a parking space maybe and make that a lot better, or two.
It seems like I live on 3rd Street, and it seems like there are more cars there now or something. It hasn't always been that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there just doesn't need to be any parking on that side.
Right.
I know people live there, but maybe they can park in the back or something, because you really can't see.
Coming to town. Yeah.
All the way down to Main Street to the end of the bypass, traffic is heavy twice.
Oh, yeah,
In the morning and
afternoon.
Yeah, so Mr. Hunt's point is that traffic on 3rd Street's increased since roundabout?
Yes.
For the record.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Anyone else? Anyone else? Well, thank you all for your attendance, and thank you for sharing with us. Commissioner comments? We move right along. Any commissioner comments?
Got one that I've been sitting on inadvertently for a while, but when the kids from Ireland were here, I think I went to their program there at the library, and I was the only city official there, so their gifts came to me, but I think they're, should go in the mayor's office or somewhere, but it's just some mementos from Carrick Fergus, so
Very
wanted to
nice.
pass those along.
Very nice.
And the other thing I wanted to mention, and other people probably will too, the Kiwanis chili cook-off was a great success. A lot of chili, a lot of heartburn. But it was a great time, and the money goes to an excellent cause to provide Christmas for some kids who wouldn't otherwise have it. So I appreciate everybody that went out there and everybody that was part of that.
Anyone else?
Going back to the Dexter Court issue, I've had a citizen who's on Carolyn, which is one of the cross streets, who's had some water issues for quite some time. Is that going to address everything out there, or do you know, or?
It may be. We need to know the address and see. We've got a few issues. The spring kind of ends up in the backyard of the houses behind you all. Yeah. It could help with that, depending
Okay.
on how far we can trace it down.
Okay. She's been through several engineers now.
Well, we did some work out there last year. We did a little bit
Okay.
did a little bit of work, so.
Okay,
They got the half going toward curling, right? Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So hopefully this will help everyone. Okay, thank you. I remembered what I was going to say to you today, Mr. Coffey.
Oh, no.
I've seen a couple of signs just today at the corner of Baughman and Waveland, and it says something regarding a neighborhood meeting regarding a sidewalk project
Yes,
tomorrow at 4:30.
that's correct.
Is that, are
That's
we
us.
doing that?
Yes, we are doing that.
Okay, I
We-
saw the
We've
signs.
had a lot of pressure from a couple of residents out there to get something started. So it's going to be very kind of just open house feel of, we put door hangers on a lot of doors out there. We put those signs out. We just want people to stop by and tell us what they think about the idea, whether they're for or against. Because I know in the past, we've tried before, we got a lot of pushback, and it's kind of held it up. So just kind of get a general feel for the neighborhood, how their approach right now. If we get a good positive output tomorrow, I think it's something we want to move forward with. There's a lot of grant money out right now for those kind of projects that we're going to try to pursue. Palmer's coming down to the meeting, Palmer Engineering that we hired to help us with street design. They're going to come down. They've got some sketches put together. So if we get a positive feeling from tomorrow, we'll probably start moving forward with some great applications and try to get some money for that project. And if nothing else, if we can't find grant money, Public Works has the ability to do sidewalks. We'll start putting in some sidewalks and do as much as we can at a time and try to get that in. It's a real need. It's probably our number one need in town for a sidewalk. Every time I'm out there, somebody's walking in the gutter. So it's definitely a need.
Okay, so that's tomorrow at 4:30 at Hogsett?
At Hogsett, yes.
Okay.
Anyone else? Commissioner Holland? Okay. Well, I was just going to echo what Commissioner Cottle said about the chili cook-off. Our fire department was well represented, and lots of other folks around town. 25 samples at a minimum. I didn't try them all, but really good event, though. Okay. And then benefits to Kiwanis and their efforts to help children in our community. So always good. Okay, let's move on then. Item number 10 is payment of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move for approval of the bill list as presented in the amount of $210,311.20.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, chair call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The bills will be paid. Okay. Item number 11, Resolution 2022-09-2601, Smith Contracting Change Order. And Marshall, Mr. Carey, I think that's you.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. This is, this first agenda item that I have is in relation to change order number 5 for Smith Contracting, who's doing the work on the new wastewater treatment plant project on Stanford Road. It's an assembly of different items. Let's go through them here real fast. One of which is costs associated for supplying and installing a new UV sampler at the wastewater plant for $15,500. Additional days on the lump sum contract due to, again, we're still seeing some delays in a lot of your electronics and machinery due to the COVID pandemic and so on and so forth. You've heard me talk about this on multiple projects. Also, cost for labor and materials to install some additional electrical UV equipment, and then cost overrun for various materials and equipment. On a lump sum contract like what you have, sometimes you'll have cost overruns for concrete, stone, rebar, and so on and so forth. But since the city in this particular situation have the direct purchase orders in the city's name, the city will be purchasing those products at the higher value So with this being a lump sum contract, typically that's handled with the contractor, and the city doesn't have to shoulder that burden from a cost standpoint. So in order to make the checks and balances and it get back to a zero for the total for the project, you deduct that from the lump sum contract from the contractor. So long story short, that's a deduction of over $368,000. So with all those different deductions and additions added in, the total comes to a negative $347,310.06 for the project.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
Move for approval of Resolution 2022-092601.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Mr. Carrier? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item number 12, Mr. Carrier, is still yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. In the capital budget for utilities, we have set aside $250,000 to go towards the beginning of sludge disposal in the lagoon at the wastewater treatment plant as it exists right now. This agenda request is just in reference to awarding a bid to the low bidder of H&A Resource Management to do that work out there. Essentially, what they'll be doing is using a dredging equipment to remove the sludge out of the pond, and you press the water out of the solids and remove the solids and take it to the landfill and do that by contract. So the total cost is going to be $250,000, which is, again, like I said, allocated in the current utility capital budget to do this kind of work.
Okay.
How often do we better do the motion first, I'm sorry.
Chair will
Getting ahead
entertain a
of myself.
motion.
That's I move for approval of Resolution 2022-092602.
Second.
Thank you.
How often do we have
Comments,
to do that,
questions?
Marshall?
Well, typically, you wouldn't, most modern methodologies of doing that is built into your wastewater treatment plant facility. So prime example of that is what we're doing out there now to upgrade our wastewater treatment plant facility has presses that automate that process for us. So as it comes into the facility, it's immediately pressed and it's disposed of properly. We just, based on the age of the plant and funds and so on and so forth, the city just over many years hasn't had the ability to do that.
Okay.
So really, the gist of it is this is our attempt to get caught back up to where we need to be in the first place. So this is just a starting point to get there.
Good.
Thanks.
Other questions or comments? Not, chair calls for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Item 13, 14, 15, and 16, Josh, they're all yours.
Yep.
Forward, brother.
Thank you all.
Mr. Morgan?
Item 13 is we would like to, now that the Perryville Road water tank project is near completion, we would like to declare the remaining property on Tuggle Road as surplus and prepare for disposal. In your, did we include that in their packet, that letter from, so we have a letter from we hired a realtor slash auctioneer. It's actually been several months ago because we were planning on doing this earlier on, but we met with them and so requirement by KRS is that we dispose of this through a public auction of some kind. And I think everybody's recommending in this situation, we do a live public auction, not a sealed bid, just with this property. They're recommending an absolute auction. After talking to the city manager and city attorney, we're hesitant to go with an absolute auction on something the city is disposing of, just with the risk involved there. So we're not recommending that. We're recommending to go with just a standard public auction with the reserve. But at this point, all that's necessary is for you all to declare that property as surplus, so then we can start putting the plans together for that. We'll do part of their contract with us is they'll do advertising, they'll do the preparation, they'll do everything ahead of time to get us the best price.
The record should also reflect that the city, by an RFP process, selected the auctioneer of VIP Realty through an open process that bids or proposals were submitted. So it is a professional service contract. However, the RFP was fulfilled and that decision was made. The resolution is cited in the resolution, just for clarification.
Thank you, sir. Need a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-09-2603.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do we know, or can we say what the reserve is at this point?
That would be a topic for executive session, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Not, let's call for the question. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, the motion carries. Item 14, Josh, Mr. Morgan, is still yours.
Yes, the city applied for a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. I believe the application was submitted maybe in 2020, just before I was here with the city. The award announcement was a couple of years, was I think last year sometime. But we just received notice last week that the funds have actually been assigned to us for that project. So in your packet is a memorandum of agreement with Department of Local Government for that funding. It's a $250,000 project. It's a $125,000 grant with a $125,000 match from the city that has been budgeted in this year's budget. It is going to go towards new playgrounds at Jackson and Cowan Street Parks and ball field improvements at Jackson Park.
Great. Chair needs a motion on this resolution.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-09-2604.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other comments or questions?
Good deal. I'm looking forward to that.
Can this
Yeah.
be used for any shade at all, or is it specific to playground equipment?
We submitted a detailed budget last year, but I think there's areas in that budget that we could put something like that in there. I would think that would be considered part of the playground equipment. We'll look at the budget and see. Everything's gone up so much since we put that budget together, so I really don't know how much this is actually gonna, we'll be able to put a good product out there, but we need to kind of get into the details now that we've actually been awarded the money and see what we can afford.
Some shade and seating is desperately needed.
Is that at both or Jackson? Just Jackson?
Jackson that I know of, but
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't know
not
about
really sure
Cowan.
about Cowan.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that multiple times too about Jackson, so. And are you fixing up the baseball, softball park?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
wow, okay.
A big portion of this is going to go towards improvements at Pete Crest Field, Troy Trumbo Field, at Jackson Park, and then also some of it will go towards kind of reestablishing it was called Jackson Field, I think. Was that what it was called back when it was there, the middle field? Which is just, it's there. It just needs fence and dugouts, and it's ready to go. So that's we'll start working on that. Money's budgeted, so we'll probably see some activity out there pretty soon.
That's great. Any other comments or questions? If not, chair calls for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Those two parks could always use some upgrades. Item number 15, Josh, is streetscape lighting.
Yes, after the approval from KYTC for our encroachment permit, we were able to put together the bid package for the lighting for the streetscape project. We put out the advertisement and received bids on September 15th. We received one bid from Sesco Lighting in the amount of $783,284. And we request approval to move forward with the contract with Sesco.
What was the number, 700?
$783,284, which this not only covers the streetlights, it covers the bollards, which are lit. There's some cafe-style lighting. There's several components to this. So it's more than just, it's got the tall street lights as well as pedestrian level lights. It's a pretty robust lighting package.
There's two different figures on here. Under background, it says 783. Under budgeting and financial impact, it says 738. It's got the numbers transposed there.
believe it's
So
783.
that's the lower number.
I
though.
just wanted to make sure what the real number was and if it is correct
Actually, it's 738.
in the, okay, so the resolution says 783.
I always guess high if I have to guess.
You did that on purpose, right? So do we need to correct that or do anything?
I think you can do it just by I will just clarify for the record that those digits were transposed, and we'll make that a amendment to the city clerk, but we'll just have it reflected at 738,824 for the record.
Okay.
You did.
He
We had a
changed the number
motion. We
again?
need a motion?
Can't remember.
Yeah, we need a motion, don't we? Yeah.
I move for approval of Resolution 2022-09-2605.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Was that an expected number?
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
gonna ask.
Okay.
It's actually a little more reasonable than I was worried about, so it's.
Okay, so less than we expected.
It's always good. Any other comments or questions? If not, let's move on this motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Item 16. Mr. Morgan, you want to continue?
Yes, this is I told Lee when I went to talk to her about this, this was a word problem they put on a finance director test, this next one. So we are purchasing the fence for the expansion of Bellevue Cemetery on North First Street. We originally were going to put in a chain link fence along I guess it would be the southern boundary and the eastern boundary, the part that adjoins the house next to us on North First and along the high school parking lot to the east. We were approached by the property owner next door that they would like to see a more decorative fence. And they kind of rallied some of the cemetery committee, and this all happened really quickly, just about a week and a half ago, because the material was getting dropped off for the chain link fence. It was kind of now or never kind of discussion. So they have agreed to split the upgrade cost along their property line. So, which we thought was a fair, they're putting some money into it, so we thought that was a fair compromise. And, I think in general, we think it will look better as well and be more representative of Bellevue Cemetery. So this also took us into kind of some strange procurement territory, because the original quote, we got 3 quotes because it was over $5,000. Low quote was $12,555. Well, this material change is going to take us up over our $20,000 limit that we have to bid, and that we need to get your all's approval for. So that's why we're bringing it tonight, to get your approval. At this time, we're planning to do since we're going to do the property line on the south side, we're going to do the east side as well along the school, because it's very, very visible from the school parking lot and from the cemeteries. So that would actually take the total project cost from $12,555 to $34,900. The difference is just along the property line with our neighbor is $16,745, so they will pay half of that. So I think it's quick math, $8,300 and something, we'll say that. So we're just asking approval to move forward with that purchase, since it is above our procurement limit. And they have the material ready to begin as soon as we give them the word. So hopefully we'll start in the next week or so.
The upgrade is a permanent change. It's a permanent improvement, and we felt like fit in better with the neighborhood. Besides we've had decorative fencing along different property owners' areas before, and a lot of times those were shared expenses back in the day. And so this being the first street, this being the entranceway, we felt like the fence was probably an appropriate upgrade.
I didn't really define it. It's going to be a 4-foot tall black aluminum fence, rail picket style fence. So you're kind of your standard black aluminum fence that you see.
Good. Sounds good. And thank you for taking quick action on that as well. Trey needs a motion on that, though, right?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2022-09-2606.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments?
Is this close to the fence that is there now? Like the original fence? Or is it more like a privacy fence?
It's not a privacy fence. It'll be like the fence that's around the water plant. the black metal fence.
Well, there's more like wrought iron around the whole cemetery, which is,
The entrance gate, it's more wrought iron.
Yeah.
It's not, too far away visually, but where it exits the street and leaves the street, but it's adjacent to the house. It's something the property owner sought. When you're back in the cemetery, it will obviously be upgraded, but it won't necessarily from the street. It will just look like a black fence down through there, so it won't look in conflict necessarily with the very expensive wrought iron portion, right? So it's a step down on a side yard for the cemetery versus the street front, but at the same time, it's an effort to make it more attractive than just a vinyl coated chain link
Right.
fence.
Yeah. Yeah, the remainder of the fence around the cemetery is just metal chain link. Most people don't really pay a lot of attention to it. It's because it's kind of hidden. It's got a lot of vegetation around it. It's got trees in front of it. There's trees behind it. It's kind of tucked in, so people don't notice it as much, but it's just standard chain link. But this will stand out a little bit more than anything else in Bellevue, but that got Rick and I discussing, we've got some fence down at Hilldale that we need to replace. Maybe we need to look at this upgrade as we do other fences in cemeteries, because it just is it's a much, much better looking product and probably a lot more appropriate product for our cemeteries.
it is, and we didn't have any pictures to go by for reference, but I would say it's also a more durable product as well as more aesthetic. And so does the city pay the entire amount and then that person reimburses us?
Yes, we've at least prepared an invoice that we'll just submit an invoice to them and they will submit payment to us.
Okay.
Other comments or questions? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you guys for being good neighbors. Again. Okay, that takes care of our planned agenda. I hate to ask this, but is there a need for an executive session?
There is for litigation and personnel.
I was on a roll, okay? The chair would like to entertain a motion for an executive session. Reach this hard, but you got to do it. Go ahead.
Which one are they?
I don't know. It's for personnel and,
I'll make it for you so you can move this
yeah,
along
I don't
here.
have one.
The motion
gonna
should be
make
to
it.
go into executive session to discuss pending litigation for which discussion at this time will compromise litigation posture pursuant to KRS 61810-1C, and as well as to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 61810-1F.
notice he didn't use a cheat sheet. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? We're going to an executive session.
Aye.
All right. We're back in regular session. Mr. Coffey?
Staff is recommending the hiring of Stephen DeBoard to the position of a police officer.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion and readiness. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Welcome back.
Congratulations. All right.
Staff is recommending the hiring of Billy Welch to the position of utility billing specialist.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, congratulations. Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make that motion.
I'd like to second it.
All right.
Oh, okay.
All in favor, get up and leave.
All opposed?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.